Hello, everyone. It is 11:30 Central, so we will get started. Thank you for tuning in to today's presentation, using the Childcare Experience curriculum to bring new energy to your childcare pathway. My name is Kelsey, and I will be your moderator for today's presentation. First, here is your 30-second introduction to Realityworks for those of you who aren't familiar with us. We are an employee-owned company based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin that creates experiential learning tools for teaching job and life skills. We got our start over 20 years ago when former NASA engineer Rick Germain created the first real care baby infant simulator and then went on to found the company that is now Realityworks. Today, our training tools combine curriculum with hands-on learning tools, student activities, and assessments. Baby is still around, but now you can look to us for our tools like our bovine birthing and ultrasound simulator, our virtual welding simulator, wearable geriatric sensitivity suits. And if you have some time, we encourage you to check out our website and see it all. Presenting today, we have Denise Dubois, who is the Senior Family and Consumer Science Product Manager here at Realityworks and has been with us for over 15 years. She is a frequent presenter, trainer, and blogger for all things related to facts, health science, and human services. Denise has experience teaching in Wisconsin and Minnesota and has over 20 years of education, marketing experience, and professional development. She is also the co-chair for the Alliance for Family and Consumer Sciences and on the Executive Council National Consortium for Health Science Education. Before we get started, I want to cover a couple things. First, today's presentation has been pre-recorded, and all attendees will receive a link containing the recording, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint slides and free resources. For those of you attending live today, you will also receive a certificate of completion for attending today's presentation. Keep an eye on your email. You will receive that email within 24 hours after the presentation, and we will have time at the end for Q&A. So feel free to type your questions in the chat or Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Denise.
Thank you, Kelsey, and welcome everyone to our session today on using the Childcare Experience curriculum to bring new energy to your childcare pathway. My name is Denise Dubois, and I am the Senior Product Manager at Realityworks, and I'll be sharing remarks with you for the next while all about our new childcare experience. Here's an overview of what we're going to be covering during our time together. We're going to do a little bit of an overview of the program itself, all about the childcare experience. Then we are going to take a deeper dive into the curriculum and all the lessons and some of the assets you have available to you through the childcare experience. Then we are going to share several sample activities from the lessons that you can take and try with your own students. We will end the session with a list of free resources and some links. And then, of course, we will take a Q&A at the end. So let's begin. What is the Childcare Experience program? Well, the Childcare Experience is really a simulated childcare environment in an infant room. We try to simulate as closely as possible what it is like to work in an infant childcare center room. And students are going to log in, or they're going to clock in rather, and work the shift of it in an infant care room. They're going to care for multiple babies of varying ages simultaneously because you've got infants in real life of different ages that you'd care for. They have different needs. Sometimes they need care at the same time. So you need to prioritize. You need to be able to multitask, keep your cool, and just be able to enjoy working with children in what can be sometimes a very anxiety-ridden setting. And then also we are going to be teaching those transferable career skills as it relates to working with infants, especially working with infants in a childcare setting. So a little bit of background in why it was developed. First of all, not everyone has access to working with infants, real infants in a childcare center. And we wanted to help build students' confidence so they can practice hands-on learning all sorts of different infant caregiving events and get practice in a risk-free environment where they don't have to worry about hurting real infants and things like that. They're able to build up their skill level over time. They can build up their ratio of caring for multiple infants over time in a risk-free, immersive environment. We also wanted to make it as realistic as possible and help students learn those transferable career skills that they can take with them after they've participated in the program. And again, this is an environment not every student has exposure to. Even schools that have childcare centers that either on site or that they work with, many times high school students cannot get real experience with infants and toddlers. Sometimes it starts at the age of 3. So we are trying to give students that type of access and help them get those hands-on skills in as realistic an environment as possible. And then another thing we like to do, Real Care Baby itself provides students with a foundational uh, simulation experience that they take home and they work with the baby 24/7 and learn those basic infant caregiving skills. But now with the child care experience, you can have an advanced level infant care simulation experience for those upper level students that maybe have already had the Real Care Baby experience and are looking for a new and more challenging and advanced way to hone their skills. So here are just a few of the skills taught in the child care experience. First of all, you are doing certainly some of those infant caregiving skills, learning how to feed, burp, rock, change, soothe. You're also learning infant CPR, and you're also learning infant airway obstruction procedures. Both of those skills are things that students need to know in order to work with infants in a child care setting. We have weaved in employability skills throughout the program, so your students are learning things like teamwork, problem solving, all sorts of things. We have one lesson dedicated specifically to entrepreneurship, where your students are going to learn what it will take to open their own childcare center. And there's a whole lot more. So it's a very robust and engaging program. So when you take a look at the childcare experience, there are really 3 different components that form the tripod for the whole thing. First of all, you get those childcare babies. That is the 3-month and the 9-month baby that you get and you provide the care to. You also get a whole host of accessories and program materials. You get everything you need to provide the care for the infants and to be able to interact with them. And you get software fully loaded on a tablet. You get access to 2 different curricula. You also get access to assessment built in, reporting, and all of those components work together for the child care experience. Now, when we take a closer look at that 3-month and 9-month baby, here's a snapshot of what you get with it. So the 3-month baby comes in a light green outfit, and there are 2 skin tones, light and dark. You get a bottle for the feeding, but you also get a portable crib with each baby that you put it in between care events. You will get a soothing blanket for the fussy event, diapers to change. You will also have a CPR kit with 100 not reusable, consumable sanitary bags where you learn to do infant CPR. You will also learn the anatomical landmarks to do the compressions at, and also you'll get real-time feedback on the compression depth and rate. So just a tremendous amount that can be learned working with our 3-month infant. Then you also get our 9-month infant, and with that one, you get a pacifier for soothing it during a fussy event. You will get a solid food spoon and a high chair for the feeding event. Again, you will get the crib. Each and every baby comes with their own crib. You'll get 2 diapers for the diaper change, and this baby is a standalone choking trainer as well. So you will get 6 choking objects that can be put down the throat, and then students will learn the correct procedure for dislodging those items that are in the throat. So again, you get a whole lot of things that you give your students hands-on in infant care. Another part of the program, we have what's called the accessory bundle. You will get a tummy time blanket, a changing mat, and a high chair. And then for the starter kit, you will get the software, which is already installed on the tablet, ready for you to use. The tablet we'll be getting into a little bit more later on, but you can do demo mode. You can do all sorts of different schedules and simulations. You can save your very favorite simulation schedules as favorites and load them up. It makes it very easy and customizable completely during the simulation. You get a beacon on a wristband that you wear during the simulation, and it tracks all of the care through Bluetooth technology that the student will give each and every infant. And all of that comes in a small storage box. You will also get a storage solution, three parts. One is a rolling case where you'll store the 4 babies. You will also get 2 soft-sided carrying bags. One will be to house all 4 of the cribs when they're folded up, and the other one will house your changing table, your high chair and your tummy time blanket along with the tablet. And all of that you can store it in a pretty small footprint, but makes it easy to transport and also store. And then another part of the program is what we call the Classroom Management Lab Pack. And those are 4 sets of scenario cards that can be put up into different stations. And you are able to engage the rest of the class during the time when some of your students are rotating through the simulation experience. So again, lots of rich things built into the whole child care experience. You do have a whole host of online resources as well. Some of those include the access to the curricula. You will also have a participant care card that you can print out and you can post, and it gives your students a lot of help on how to do each of the care events if they need that extra help. You will have access to a child care experience participant certificate that can be printed out at the end of the program, giving your students something tangible they can walk away with. And then, of course, you have a quick start guide and also a very lengthy software help guide to help you implement the program as easily as possible. So here's just a very quick snapshot of the care events and what's involved. And you can see we've got the burp, the rock, the feed, the diaper change, and the fussy. There are also going to be random events that happen because we know in real life, unexpected things can happen during the day. And those random events will show up on the tablet, and students need to log in and answer them and submit their answers to you. And every bit of care that they give to each and every infant, they must document on the tablet as well because they're creating that daily parent report that we know is such an important part for the parents at the end of a child care day. Just a little bit of a snapshot of the types of reports you get at the end. You get a group report that shows all of the things that happened during the simulation with all of the students involved in the group. And then you get a student report, which extracts just what each individual student did, the care they provided, and how that went. And then there are individual baby reports as well that will highlight the care given to each baby in the simulation. And here's just another snapshot of the student reports. These are some of the reports we think you'll probably use the most because it will isolate the care that that individual student gave. It will show care events that went 100% well. If they got half the credit for proper care, or I'm sorry, attempted care, or no credit for missed care. There's also abuse and mishandle events, and then it reports on all of the scenarios that they answered as well. And this is just a little bit of a snapshot of what's included in the infant report. And you can see where students, when they type in the caregiving, they can also type in some notes. And that is the type of information that parents would really find helpful at the end of the day. So now we're really going to get to the meat of our webinar today, and that is the child care experience curriculum. And there are 8 different lessons on a whole host of subjects, and the child care infants are used in the lessons, and different parts of the program are used and woven into the lessons as much as possible. So you can see there are many, many different topics in our curriculum. We also do align to National Family Consumer Science Standards, and this information is available and shared on our website. If this is the information that you would find helpful. It's helpful information if you can go out and look for scope and sequence or pathway programs for early childhood education or child care pathway. It's where it shows the course sequence. This is just an example of how you can see you could use Real Care Baby for grades 9 and 10, perhaps, in child development. And then again, you would use the child care experience later on as the capstone or for them to practice the more advanced child care skills in that simulated work-based learning environment. So each lesson follows basically the same template. You have the focus, the learn, and the summarize section. Focus will get your students engaged in the content at the beginning of the lesson. The learn section is really the meat of the webinar, or I'm sorry, of the lesson, and it will teach the main objectives, and then you end up with that summarize portion where you will have either a quiz or some way to summarize those key points learned. Now, lesson 1 is all about infant feeding and nutrition. And they will focus on, at the beginning of the lesson, there's a pre-assessment, and then in the lesson itself, they go into infant feeding and nutrition. They'll get a hands-on practice feeding both the 3 and the 9-month infants during the lesson, and then they will do a review activity at the end of that lesson. Lesson number 2 is dedicated to infant development, the developmental domains, and those are the physical, intellectual, emotional, and social. So the focus will include a pre-assessment. The learn section will be developmental domains in an infancy slide presentation, so lots of information there. And then this one will apply what they've learned in several different case studies where they have to be looking at those areas in infant development. Now, lesson 3 is all about lesson planning and daily schedule planning. And for many students, this is the very first time that they are actually exposed to something like that. They will think about how they would schedule the day for an infant in their care. They learn about appropriate lesson planning and what they would do with infants. They see different sample real life schedules for infants, and then there's even a little bit of licensing information built in at the end of that lesson. Lesson 4 is all about parent communication, and it kicks off the lesson with an activity called the 7 Bs of effective communication with parents. And we also will be weaving in the use of the parent reporting a portion of the simulation as well into this lesson. But students learn to do good and effective written communication as well as verbal. And then at the end of this particular lesson, there is an assessment activity as well. Lesson 5 is our entrepreneurship lesson, and this is where students contemplate opening a child care center of their own. So it kicks off with a focus activity where they do a little bit of dreaming and think about what they would like their own child care center to look like. Then they go on to the learn section where they're opening a child care center of their own, and they learn all about the things that they need to consider. And then the last part of the lesson, they're creating their own child care center plan. Lesson 6 is all about infant CPR, and they literally learn to do the steps of infant CPR from the American Heart Association. They will then get their hands on the 3-month simulator to practice getting that real-time feedback on infant compression rate and depth. And then at the end, they will do an infant CPR review test and also their hands-on skill test. Similarly, lesson 7 is all about infant airway obstruction. And they kick off this with an activity on what's in the bag, where a lot of different little things are provided, and students have to identify what would be a choking hazard and what would not. Then they go into the slide presentation where they're learning the correct procedure, and then they do the hands-on infant airway obstruction, and then they end with their procedure test for that lesson. Lesson 8 is the immersive childcare experience. And this program is not a one and done. You will use this or should use this over and over throughout the course of a quarter, semester, however long your program is. So it'll start with introducing students to the child care babies, what they do to prepare to be ready to use it. Then you're going to go into demo mode and you're going to practice each of the care events. You're going to rotate through the simulation using building up your skills over time, though, definitely. And then you could have those scenario stations set up. And then we do provide some debrief and reflection activities and questions at the end as well. So, sample activities from the lessons. We wanted to provide a snapshot of different things from lessons and give you some things you could take away and try. So our first activity comes as an icebreaker activity from our infant feeding and nutrition lesson. And this is really to see what your students already know about infant feeding and nutrition. It's a pretest you could show to students or even read aloud the questions orally. See what they come up with for answers and see what they already know about feeding an infant. So here's also the answer key for that activity so that you have everything you need in order to try it on your own. The next is our activity from our infant domains lesson. And if you are teaching a lesson on pies development, you could use this case study. You'd read the case study or even make a copy and distribute to students. and you would allow them to read it, and then you could partner them up if you wanted, but they would need to complete all of the different physical, intellectual, emotional, and social uh, milestones seen in the scenario. And then if you like using case studies, you can even have each student submit a brief case study that they write on their own, and then you could share each one and discuss as a whole group. So this activity comes from our lesson and daily schedule planning lesson, and it's an activity that you could do as a think, pair, share, where students must first answer a prompt on their own. Then they come together in pairs or small groups and they share later on their discussion and decision with the whole class on these different questions that are provided. So here's the 7 B's of effective communication. And this activity comes from our lesson 4 on communicating with parents. So you could have the participants read the article at the link provided, and it's the 7 keys to good communication. You could have them do it independently or read it together as a class. You could group students by numbering or assigning 7 different groups, and then you would assign the 7 B's from the article to each group, one to each group. You could have them work together to discuss or even prepare a paraphrased description that they then share with the class. And if the number of participants is low, you could create fewer groups and assign more than one section of the activity to each group. But it's a great way to get your students thinking all about parent communication. Next is activity from our entrepreneurship lesson, and it's a good opening activity or an icebreaker. And you'd open with the big question, and you'd brainstorm with your students, what does it take to open a childcare center? You could use 5 minutes to ask students their impressions and then pose these 13 questions. And think, can this be done independently, or even you could do it as a partner activity? But imagine that you're thinking about opening your own childcare center. If you're working with a partner, you could use the questions to interview them, or if you're working independently, interview yourself, and then read each question and thoughtfully respond. This activity comes from our infant CPR lesson, and these are literally provided for you to cut apart, and then you read through the scenario. You give each group of participants the envelope or a set of the infant CPR steps, and then read the scenario. And then after that, they can take these different steps and they are to put them in the correct order. And then you can see how each of the groups do, putting them in order, but you want to help them to learn the correct sequence to infant CPR so that when they practice it on the infant that they understand the correct procedure. What's in the bag comes to us from our choking lesson, and it's first of all, you're going to explain to participants, you're going to show them a variety of small objects, and it is their job to determine whether each object is safe or unsafe for an infant or toddler under the age of 4. You'd instruct them to individually write their answers on their worksheet as each object is shown. And then one at a time, you'd quickly pull out 20 small objects out of a large paper bag and show them to the class, and then place each object on the table in front of the class. You could lead a discussion by asking them which objects are safe and which are unsafe. Then you could ask them to give evidence to justify their decisions. And then form 2 different piles. One is safe and one is unsafe. You could brainstorm other objects that also might be found in a home, in a childcare center, or other environment that could be unsafe to an infant or toddler. Next, we have a scenario in our classroom management pack, which includes 2 different decks of soft skill scenario cards. So here's a childcare scenario that focuses on soft skills of problem solving. So this scenario could be used as an icebreaker, a wrap-up activity, or even journaling activity, or a class discussion. Also, here is a scenario that comes from our infant toddler CDA competency scenario card pack. You could use it in a similar way to the one we just shared for soft skills. You could show this to your students. You could show it on a document projector. You could read it out loud, but then ask those key questions before you share those potential solutions that are also provided. So here are just some more resources that we'd like to share with you at this time. First of all, we have a limited time offer that when you purchase the Child Care Experience program, you receive a free CDA scenario kit. And just as it says on the screen here, this is good for the purchase when you do it a CCE 8-pack. This will expire at the end of April, so if you have any interest in purchasing an 8-pack at this time, we think this would be a great little addition to your order. So now what? We have given you a lot of information, uh, and here are some links we wanted to provide if you'd like additional information about the childcare experience. We have an implementation guide. We have all sorts of videos. I've highlighted a few of our archived webinars that specifically focus on the childcare experience that we think would be a great introductory um, bit of information if you would like to do a little bit of a deeper dive before purchasing. And of course, you can always contact us with questions. And we do provide this QR code here for more details. If you scan that, that will lead you to yet more information about the childcare experience. Well, we would like to thank you all for spending the time together with us today to learn more about the childcare experience and specifically the lesson plans and the curriculum that come along with it. If you'd like to learn more, you can scan the QR code here and it will put you in contact with your Realityworks account manager, and they would be happy to answer questions and get you more information. So Kelsey has been monitoring our chat box, and we would welcome any questions that you have at this time as we stop for the Q&A.